Hey, Traders Rocky here with a mid-afternoon update. I want to follow up to that Dow conversation that we had earlier today, and what an interesting turn of events as we come out of the lunchtime doldrums. During the afternoon breakout session, we had a quick fade. Fades are not like following trends. We had a great morning of trend following, and then once we get past the European close and into the lunchtime doldrums between 11:30 and 1:30, I'm very suspicious of the market. After 2 o'clock, we can start thinking about trades again. We had a quick fade that took us from this level here, this resistance area from earlier in the day, down to the profit target one more time. That's exactly what we saw. And that's all she wrote, because what ended up happening is you could see the risk sentiment in the afternoon change and the market trend on the 5-minute. And these things can happen very quickly on a 5-minute chart. The market trend basically turned into a 12-2. And what you end up with at 12-2 is now, instead of looking for swing shorts like we did earlier in the day, we start looking for swing buys. And I would say this would probably be a little too early to call that a buy unless you're a fairly aggressive trader. It was definitely a profit target level for the 1565 fade. So it was a pretty easy fade of about 35 points. And then I'd say on some of the second attempts into the second and maybe third attempt. So now we're talking about this area here, and then it turns into a buy. Now, when do we stop fading? Look, the market is transitional through here. Okay, that's a transitional market. Once we start getting more of a 12-2 o'clock market, you can't start saying you still want to fade these levels. I mean, you could, but we kept hitting, let's say you did. Let's say you kept fading this level. Let's say you faded here, and let's say you faded here again. Okay, every time we hit this 530 area, you got to take profit, and then maybe you do it again and again. And the more you do that, the more you're seeing what was once a transitional market is looking increasingly like a 12-2. And now you're just fading because you're ignoring the underlying 12-2 o'clock market trend. So this is where you need to say to yourself, right about here, I'd say that this market is really going from the previous 2 to 4. Okay, 2 to 4 o'clock here to more of a 12-2. And once we get that 12-2, which is what we saw there, you have to start playing the swing buys and the pullbacks. So this is where we are right now. Pretty interesting. The fade did work. Took us down to 1530. Nothing really awesome about that. I do want to emphasize the best time to do this trade, take the clearing, take the price action from 10 to about 11:30, and then be done with it. If you did stay into the afternoon, you take the fade, you take the profit target, maybe you take the fade again, take the profit target. I mean, we really could have done that 3 times until you're really just being double mule and ignoring the 12-2 on the 5-minute, in which case, if you ignore that, look, you ignore the market trends, you're going to get steamrolled. 2 things. You realize you're trading the afternoon, which is a completely different animal, and you're ignoring a 12-2. Hey, I think I want to use this more as an example of what not to do, because it's really easy to fall in love with the weakness we saw earlier and wanting to continue to do that, when in reality, the whole point of a 5-minute is to stay nimble and aware of these changes in psychology. And shortly after the lunchtime doldrums, sure, you could have played some overbought fades, but ultimately it just led into a 12-2 o'clock organization. And I'm okay with the fades because that was the right thing to do at least once, if not twice. Going into the third time, you're starting to flirt with a 12-2, and it's the wrong strategy. It's the wrong strategy at that point. So the smart money got long. The market trend turned to a 12-2. If you follow the market trend, you will stay out of trouble. So really interesting turn of events in the afternoon session here today.